Hi guys, welcome to a brand new series where we deep dive into project analysis, highlighting the good, the bad, and possibly the ugly. I'm Alvin, and with me I have Celeste and Nathaniel. Alright, so what are we going to talk about today, Nathaniel?
So I think today we are talking about this. Supposedly it's one of the hottest new launch in 2025, right?
Correct. So Celeste, Parktown Residences, where is this actually located?
It's located along Tampines Avenue 11.
Today we're talking about this Parktown Residences. So this is developed a joint venture between UOL, Singland, is it Singland?
Singapore Land
and CapitaLand.
Land.
Yeah, so
And-
these three of the most reputable developers in Singapore. So both from the residential and also the commercial side. I mean, we see a lot of these shopping malls in Singapore by CapitaLand. Yeah, so actually one of the main reasons why we think that this, or more like a lot of the people think that this is one of the hottest launch in 2025 is because of really just two things. It's a mega development, 1193 units, and it's an integrated project as well. So I think a lot of people like this integrated project, that people think that this connectivity and convenience factor actually allows a much better lifestyle in this area.
Yeah, that's quite true.
Yeah.
And actually, having a 1193 units actually places it among the mega developments also. In a sense, you can actually say that Parktown Residences is actually a mega integrated development.
Okay, so why a mega development is so popular in Singapore is because their expectation of like more facilities. So for Parktown itself, there's 6 swimming pools.
Wow.
Yeah.
6 swimming pools.
Yeah, and there's the tennis court and 3 clubhouses. This also means that you can enjoy more facilities at possibly lower maintenance fees because you have more units to share your maintenance MCST fees across. So mega developments also mean that there's price stability through higher transaction volumes.
Yeah, so what do you mean by price stability through higher transaction volumes?
In a sense, if you have 1193 units, transaction volume within the development will be high. So even if, let's say today, somebody, in a sense, one of your neighbors maybe is in distress or whatever, they sell the property slightly cheaper as compared to everybody else, that would not, in a sense, create a price drop. Because of the sheer number of units and transactions that this development will have, the price should remain stable.
So the
going
price
into the
drop
future.
will look like an outlier, not a trend
Yeah,
line. in a
correct.
sense, lah.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, like, usually for smaller condos, right?
Yes.
When you see like one price drop, maybe it's like 10%,
Yeah.
or 5% of the whole unit price itself, and people will use that as a gauge to put the price even further down.
Correct. Because I mean, essentially, we are all humans, right? So generally, as a buyer, if let's say today you were to go in to buy a resale property, your first indication of whether this property is overvalued or undervalued, you would definitely look at the transaction. But then if let's say for smaller developments, maybe the last transaction was a year ago or maybe 2 years, and that could not be reflective of the current
You have
pricing.
no benchmark.
Yeah,
basically.
correct. You don't have a
Correct.
benchmark also. I think that's what we actually mean by price stability, it being a mega development itself. Parktown Residences' unique selling point, mega plus integrated development. We all know what mega developments actually bring, but what about integrated development? Would it being an integrated development actually bring more value or less value into the table? And what does it actually mean for, in a sense, its potential customers?
Okay, let's take a look at Parktown specifically, the site plan. This project has hawker center, community club and bus interchange integrated all inside. And also an MRT stop. And of course, shopping malls are retail shops. So I guess what this means for a lot of consumers is that it's just a doorstep away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's literally a doorstep away.
Yeah,
lah.
yeah.
So I think this size sounds like our Tampines hub, right? But
Yeah.
with a condo on top.
Yes,
Oh,
but I think
yeah, that's quite
what
true.
you'll be paying for is the extra added convenience, and then you don't have to, like imagine you want tapao food or you want to buy anything, you just like go downstairs, literally. And there's even hawker center, which is like catered to every Singaporean. I believe most of y'all won't go to restaurant to tapao food for dinner, right?
Not every day, not every day. But I think what I particularly like about an integrated development is actually that the mere fact that you do not need to, in a sense, walk unsheltered. Yeah. So imagine that the
You
transport is
don't
all
even
around
need
you.
to bring an umbrella.
Yeah, you don't even need to bring umbrella. It's
Yeah,
like
you
how-
imagine how annoying it is to put umbrella in your bag.
Yes.
It's so big and bulky.
Yes, that's why. I think that is actually one very big key selling point. Talking about convenience, right? Parktown Residences actually is the MRT itself, okay, that Parktown Residences will be on top of, right? Okay, it's actually one new MRT line, right? The Cross Island line.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
correct. the light green line.
Yeah, so this Cross Island line is a line that's going to be built up, I think, by 2030 something. Of course, there have been different phases. So phase 1 will be in the east part of Singapore. What I think is that Cross Island line, right, I think people don't really appreciate how that this will be the next big thing in terms of growth in Singapore. La.
I think it definitely will be. Actually, do you know that our Tampines North MRT, right, is located just one stop from the full MRT, which is the Paya Lebar Air Base.
Yeah.
In terms of like how do we understand like how it grow, like we need to understand like at first like what's the fundamental way like how the government plan things.
Yeah.
So if we look at this chart here, right, we see that this was a adapted chart from 1991 and how government planned the urban planning in terms of transport nodes lah.
The long-term concept plan lah.
Correct. So we look at it in a very concentric circles moving outwards from the center. So your growth zones building up from there. So your first era of growth, right, in the 1980s, 1990s was in the downtown core. So anybody who bought it that time, they make money.
Yeah.
Your second growth zone is in your second circle you see out here. So that was actually the circle line. So we see recently from the 2000s to I think 2024 right now that this area, the RCR zone, which is your circle line demarcation, actually makes the most profit. We see all the $1 million HDB come from there.
Yeah.
So what is the next growth area?
Could it be the Cross Island line?
Yeah. So it kind of looks like it's something that they are planning to do this way. And that is in fact what the master plan has been on for the past 5 years. Your Punggol Digital District at Defu, your Paya Lebar Air Base, your new township in Turf City, even your Hougang, your new mixed development, your Clementi area. So we see that these are the new growth areas that are really popping up here and there. So this is something that we should not be missing out on.
Yeah, I mean, you see the Cross Island line, the phase 1, like what will be done, right? There's like Aviation Park, there's like Bright Hill MRT, Serangoon North, Hougang, all that. So those are already very mature estates.
So talking about transformation, so from Cross Island line you have your transformation and that kind of thing, but I also think Tampines North itself is pretty interesting. I always feel that Parktown Residences at this current point lending itself, as the first icon flagship in Tampines North, is if let's say you were to enter in Tampines North, technically you're buying into Tampines, but imagine Tampines open a sub-district and you are the first mover to that also. So I think that is actually pretty interesting, and it's also interesting to discuss how Tampines North will transform, okay? And adding to that also, because of Paya Lebar Air Base is actually going to be removed, so once Paya Lebar Air Base is removed already, right, there will be new developments around, the Paya Lebar Air Base, and Tampines North is actually at the front row seats of the Paya Lebar transformation. Paya Lebar transformation would also mean that height restrictions will be lifted. Okay, so essentially we possibly could see high-rise buildings around the area. So what would that actually mean to the surrounding area around Paya Lebar?
Maybe it means that I think you're saying that there'll be more population, right? Like higher density in the future, 20 years down the road.
Yeah.
That maybe Tampines can actually have more people inside this area. I mean, right now Tampines is already the largest.
Largest township. What you have to know is that Tampines North, right, is a brand new sub-district. Like if you see the master plan from 2003, right, it was just like all reserve site.
Yeah.
It was just barren. And then like slowly it became residential. And then right now it's a brand new sub-town district. So what you're buying into, right, is you're buying into everything that is brand new, despite it being a mature estate. So actually, even though it's like, can I say old? Even though it's mature.
I mean, not every part of Tampines is old.
Yes. They're actually going through a very like big rejuvenation.
Yeah. So I think that's something very interesting because like Tampines, in essence, you have two different part of it. Our Tampines North here is definitely the newest. I mean, the BTO, some of them haven't even MOP yet, right?
Yeah.
And then we have the Tampines East area, which is kind of 30 years old HDB flats already.
Yeah.
So in terms of transformation, right, we have to think about what is your future, because your Paya Lebar Air Base is not going to take 1 year to build finish. It'll take like maybe 10 years.
Yeah.
So in 10 years time, you want to have a newer area so that the value can be held there.
Okay, let's talk about Tampines North and the transformations that are happening around it. So we're actually right in the middle of 3 largest transformations in Singapore. The first one, which is definitely the Paya Lebar Air Base, something that you can see. And then there's also the Changi Airport Terminal 5 that is upcoming. And then there's the further up northeast, there's also the Punggol Digital District.
Actually, that's one thing I really want to talk about. Tampines North. We all know Tampines. Tampines is the second, in a sense, second largest planning area in Singapore. It is actually voted by NUS to be the most connected township in Singapore. And so there's a lot of demand over there. And now you open a sub-district called Tampines North. So we already know that Tampines itself has a lot of demand. And now they're opening a sub-district. Parktown, in a sense, is actually the first mover in the whole area. And the truth is that the entire area, right, at this point in time, okay, you don't have much. Okay, what you have, right, are BTOs.
Correct.
Like,
and ECs lah, EC.
Yeah, and ECs, BTOs and ECs at this point in time. So, but however, you realize the ECs, right? So that day I was actually driving past, and the BTOs are quite interesting because the BTOs are not just HDB flats. They are HDB flats that are integrated in a sense. So there is actually coffee shops, NTUC, amenities within the BTOs
I think there's
itself.
only no shopping mall, which everybody will go
and the thing is, right, they are really sorely lacking a shopping mall, and Parktown is actually the first shopping mall in the area. I think other than that, there is actually other lands that will be coming up also.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think there are 2 or 3 plots, right?
Yeah, correct. 2 or 3 plots of
what
land
they're
that will
trying to
come
do
up.
there in Tampines North, they're trying to make it a very self-sustainable ecosystem where you can just work and eat and just never ever leave your house there.
Yeah, so technically, in a sense, copying the model from the main Tampines area and after replicating it into Tampines North. Because I mean, the truth is that in Tampines, right, people who live in Tampines generally would know, okay, that when you are actually in Tampines, you hardly go out of Tampines for anything because anything and everything is there.
It's like at your doorstep.
Yeah, it's
The
true.
only thing you don't have is maybe you want to go to town, to have your dates and stuff. But generally, Tampines has everything that you can actually ask for in terms of a living location.
Yeah, agree. And I think the most important thing is that, I mean, Tampines North like you mentioned, don't have a mall, right?
Yeah.
I mean, usually people just go to IKEA, Giant, and it's still quite a distance away lah. So I think this mall itself, this Parktown Residences, the mall, will actually help to bring a lot of vitality in this area lah. So I think a few areas that we can compare to previously was the Poise Residences.
Yeah.
I think the area was severely lacking maybe even NTUC at the point in time.
Right.
Before the new integrated condo came in. And of course, we have the Seneca Residences also. So something similar, Tanah Merah, everybody knows that there's really nothing there. There's no commercial shops there. So with the Seneca Residence, we expect that you have the same kind of rejuvenation that we see in this whole area lah.
Yeah.
Parktown Residences, mega development, integrated transport hub, Cross Island Line, new Cross Island Line, transformation. Everything sounds so good, So what is actually going to be the estimated price? I think that's the thing that is hovering on everybody's mind also.
Correct.
So land bid, how much was it net?
I think it was 884 PS plot ratio lah.
Plot ratio. So
Yeah.
if let's say we were to add everything all together, estimated break even should be around 1661.
Yeah, correct. So this one you can see here that estimated is about this pricing lah.
Yeah.
So from this we actually extrapolate a bit with the integrated premium and the profit margin developer have. So that will come out to be around the 2002 to 2003 range lah, per average lah.
Yeah. So big question. 2002, 2003.
Is it expensive?
Is it expensive? Yes. Is it expensive? I think that is a big question that we want to try to answer a little bit. So when you talk about Parktown Residences integrated, within the vicinity of Parktown, I don't think you can actually miss out Pasir Ris 8.
Yeah, that's the newest condo, right? TOP
Yeah,
here.
correct. Within a 2-kilometer radius.
Also somewhat integrated lah.
Yeah, somewhat.
It's actually one of the integrated transport hubs and shopping malls in Singapore.
Yes.
Yeah,
Also,
so it's a direct comparison. Just maybe the size, the unit mix is smaller. There's only 500
correct.
units. This one has 1,000 units.
Yep. So interesting for all the viewers that actually don't know. Pasir Ris 8 launch day itself increased price 6 times.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. I think that shows the demand for integrated projects in
Around the
Singapore.
area,
yeah,
right?
And around East Side, definitely.
Yeah. Interesting enough, highest asking price for Pasir Ris 8, 2003.
That's on Property Guru right now lah.
Yeah, for probably Gora
wow.
right now. Correct. This is quite crazy. But the overall asking price, right, is around 2,000.
So that's on average, lah.
Average lah.
Property group, people asking this kind of price.
Correct. People asking roughly around 2,000
Plus,
PSF, you know. And we also have to take note of one thing. Pasir Ris 8 is actually not harmonized. So if let's say you were to add to a 5 to 6% premium on top of that, what would that actually be already, you know?
About 2001, 2002?
Yeah,
right?
around
there.
2001, 2002.
That should be the average price I think people going to transact at in the future, lah.
Correct. And Parktown is actually a mega development. So, I mean, you can draw the comparisons from there, lah. Okay. And I think one other comparison that I would like to draw would actually be Treasure at Tampines, you know. So Treasure in Tampines, 2,200 plus a mega development. Currently, right now, asking prices for Treasure in Tampines is approximate, okay, at to average 1,777 or something around there. So interestingly, okay, because Treasure Tampines is not harmonized, right? What we're gonna do now is that we're gonna at 1,777. If let's say we add in a 6% harmonized, we harmonize it at 6%. Okay, we get a figure of 1,883. You know, 1,883. I think there is actually a
20% premium for
20% premium, yes,
the
correct,
integrated,
correct.
the MRT factor.
Yeah, there was
convenience,
actually
shopping mall, lah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Then and how we derive this 20 to 25% is actually because I think HPOP itself actually came out with an article and to state that actually the development premium, right, okay, for integrated is around 20 to 25%. So assuming if let's say we take a 20% so-called premium, 183 at 20%, you are around the range of 2,260 PSF. And
Not
second
forgetting.
not forgetting, right? One is a new launch and one is a resale.
Yeah, you're buying a
Yeah.
brand new, fresh 99-year lease. Another one is like 8 years old.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. So I think the question we ask ourselves is that if let's say we look at these figures, will Parktown actually be considered undervalued, you know, fully valued, or actually overvalued?
I think for me, I think it's undervalued. Yeah, because I mean, the comparison that you drew, Treasure has no amenities, but it still performs so well. It shows that there's demand for condos in Tampines. Okay, I think one very important point to note, right, that if you actually have the time to go and research, right, there's no condominiums in Tampines that is within 500-meter walking distance to the MRT. So the first one will actually be Parktown Residence.
Yeah, Parktown is not even 500 meters. It's like,
Downstairs.
But I believe with every property purchase, there are definitely some downside risks also.
Correct.
So I think that's something we can actually talk about. So interestingly, okay, downside risks. Okay,
Yep.
do you think Pasir Ris condo supply, you know, the areas near the Pasir Ris MRT, you know, we have a bunch of condos over there. The Pasir Ris condo supply, okay, and secondly, the Q-Bay cluster, Q-Bay, Santorini, Tapestry, Alps, Park Central, will those condos supply, okay, in a sense, be a risk factor for our entry into Parktown?
I think very simple. For when Pasir Ris 8 launched, did the whole Pasir Ris cluster, was there a risk to Pasir Ris 8? No, it's still sold out, even after 6 times of price increase.
Yeah, I think to put in perspective is that there is always a demand for integrated projects.
Yeah.
Just because of the lifestyle, the convenience.
Yeah.
And even crossing that road, right, in a super rainy day. I mean, we saw the previous few weeks, right, in January, in December, the rain was insane.
Yeah.
Right? Even if an umbrella, you're going to get wet.
Yeah.
So there is always a demand for these integrated projects. So this is something that will always be there. But if you talk about Pasir Ris condo, the supply there, your Dines, Coco Palms, Livia, all this, right, we have to take note that even though the PSF might look cheaper, they are number one, older. They're number two, not only just not harmonized, some of them have even bay windows.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
very
not
big.
just a 5-6% gap. We are looking about 15 to even 20% gap just based on floor plan efficiency itself. So this is something that people have to look at when they see the price, not just the figures on the paper itself, but to dive deeper inside, like why exactly is it this price? Yeah, so that's number one. Number two is your Q-Bay area, your Q-Bay are at Tampines, your Tapestry, Santorini. So these are actually quite old projects already, and they are directly facing the B2 semi-waffle
Two
construction.
projects are facing
Yeah.
Pasir Ris condo supply, one thing. Second one, you know, Q-Bay cluster, Santorini, Tapestry, Alps, Park Central. So that entire lineup of condos, would that actually, in a sense, dilute the demand for Parktown residences? And are they actually, in a sense, a risk factor to consider also?
I think if you talk about this cluster area, this belt of condos in this Tampines, is it Northwest area?
Tampines,
But I think if you're
nearer
talking,
to Tampines West, nearest to Tampines
West,
West. Yeah.
Okay, but I think if you're talking about this area, the Santorini Taper Street area, definitely there'll be people who are looking for resale condo because they want to move in earlier.
Yeah.
But of course, we have to also take note that this area there is really no near MRT. You have to take a
Amenities
bus
also.
to the nearest MRT station, which is like Bedok Reservoir, Tampines West MRT station. So that one bus stop can take a bit longer. That's number one. Number two is that when we talk about this whole cluster, like Tampines as a whole, we want to tap onto the transformation of the Paya Lebar airbase.
Yeah.
So it doesn't happen overnight. So it takes like, I think they say by 2030, you'll start moving out.
Yeah.
It means that amenities will be start building in 2040. So that is a 15-year gap. We have to understand that the current cluster in that area compared to Parktown is already of a 10 to 12, 15, even 15 years age gap. So by the time when the transformation is up,
Wow, it'll be like 30 years old.
yeah, precisely. So what will your exit buyers think about when they are going to look at a condo in the future?
I think you really summarized it well. It's like, on one hand, you have your transformation, which then should pull your prices upwards. But also at the same time, also because your property is getting too old, so technically the price
Lease
in
decay.
a sense.
It's fighting against lease decay.
It's kind of funny and realistically, and future buyers may come to look at the properties, not everybody really wants to buy into such an old development also, so because there could be underlying issues.
I think
with
Tampines
buying.
also, being the second largest town, there's a lot of like HDB upgraders, like a lot of pent up demand there for condo supply. There's a very huge gap lah. There's actually very little condos there. If you go and look at
actually that's quite true. I mean, you have how many people staying in Tampines?
232,000.
Yeah.
232,000. And then they manage about 68,000 flats in the whole town. I mean, this is as of 2018 lah. I can go and find you facts and figures. But let's say 68,000 flats already. Let's say maybe just like even 5 or 10% want to transact, want to upgrade, right? They can't because there's not enough supply in the whole area.
Okay, so for risk-wise, I think there's also another inherent risk. It's more of a country-wide risk for all property owners, which is actually pending cooling measure. Yes
Possible.
or no?
I mean, okay, we are filming this on like 17th January and yesterday, our who is that? National
MND.
MND,
minister,
sorry. MND minister said that potentially Singapore will not stop at the idea of having a potential cooling measure.
Yeah.
So why is this so?
I think his exact words is actually, we are not adverse.
Yes, correct.
To a cooling measure. Okay, but maybe not now. So, interestingly, how this will actually develop. The cooling measures have been talked about, I think,
for how many years already?
Yeah, correct. But I think it's important to understand, maybe a little bit on the impacts of the cooling measure on the current property market. Yeah. I like to go. I have a lot of insights on this, and I think if I would go into too much of it, then the video will be too long. But maybe what we can actually do is actually to, in a sense, look at cooling measure and maybe have a quick discussion. So cooling measure, do you think price can drop?
I think that even if there's cooling measures, right, nobody will sell their flat or their house lower. They will just like wait it out until they get the price that they want or they achieve.
Yeah, I mean,
usually,
no one want to be a loser and sell the price
yeah,
lower.
I mean,
right.
we've seen the past cooling measures, the market trends, it didn't really cause a very significant drop in price. It just like dragged on the increase.
So what you mean is that when cooling measure hits, the majority of buyers take a look and see approach to see what's going to happen, because nobody wants to be a loser, like what you say.
Sellers also.
Yeah. So generally, the sellers itself and buyers, in a sense, they might actually pause their property journey for a while, and this creates, in a sense, a bottleneck. And because technically, if you think about it, statistically, people who want to, in a sense, move houses every year, we have a set population. Every year, maybe a certain percentage of people want to actually move houses. I believe the so-called statistics won't dwindle, but rather, in a sense, they will pause. And because of this pause already, some demand, okay, people who may want to move for a house now, they may, in a sense, pause their property journey to 3 to 6
So
months
those that
later.
can afford to wait will just wait a bit lah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Then it comes to a point whereby time kicks in. Maybe you want to move, you can't continue living in this your 3-room flat. You need a
5-bedroom,
a 4-bedroom,
something like that.
Maybe we can show the graph also. Every single time there's a cooling measure, right? The property market will go down, like
It will just dip slightly
plateau
lah.
a bit, or dip a bit, and then it would bounce back up.
I do feel that the dip a bit is also more for the resale market, whereby the expectation versus reality kind of thing. Whereby I don't think the dip is because of the market's going to crash, but rather it corrects itself just a little bit, because in a sense, why? Today, if let's say I'm a seller and I've been listing my property for a while, and then after that I have certain expectation of price, but then suddenly I don't have any viewings, then suddenly somebody comes in offer after like a long period of time.
Yeah, and then maybe it's a decent offer. Maybe slightly just lower than your expectation, like 10, 20,000, something like that. Yeah, and might be actually worthwhile to take the offer instead of waiting another 6 months or 1 year lah.
Yeah, I think opportunity cost lah for them.
Yeah, correct. So I think that might be constitutes the slight dip in the market lah. So I think what you're mentioning is that it's quite true that in this period of like maybe cooling measures, like a lot of people will be more unsure about the market. Yeah, don't know where is it going. Is it going up, down, left, right, center? We don't know. Right. Yeah. So I think this uncertainty in the market, right, even though it looks like very daunting to a lot of people, like we don't know where it's going, but it can also be an opportunity for a lot of people as well.
Yeah, I actually do feel that the uncertainty is actually an opportunity if, in a sense, you understand the market fundamentals. On a broader spectrum, the developers, in a sense, are the biggest players in the market. And them being unsure technically could also mean that they will be more cautious in the pricing, because the truth is that from last year...
They have a time limit also, right?
Yeah, correct. They also have a time limit. And I think the worst thing a developer could do right now is actually to price their units too high, and the market is not ready to accept the pricing. And then subsequently, if let's say the looming cooling measure really hits them and they're stuck.
And they have to give a discount and lose the reputation lah. Both are not very good lah.
Yeah,
I think the good thing about this project is that the developers are quite reputable lah. Yeah, UOL, Singapore Land.
Yeah, that's also another thing that I think in this market of uncertainty, okay, I think all the more, okay, with what has happened recently for some developments that have cut prices. Importantly, choosing the correct developer, it has become more and more important in this day and age. Okay, to ensure that, in a sense, the developer protects your interests and protects, in a sense, your potential profits also.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so it's like basically like finding a good stock like in terms of the property in the stock market, find a good stock at decent price versus finding a bad one at a super cheap price. Because it's long term wise, you actually gain more by buying something good. But of course, the price must be decent. Like, cannot be super overpriced.
Yeah, that's quite true. Yeah.
So actually, the end goal is really to find a good property with solid fundamentals in terms of how this property is and whether it can grow in the long run.
Correct. So interestingly, now, after we have talked about so much about risk, okay, what is the exit strategy like for Parktown residences? I think first and foremost, Tampines being the second largest township in Singapore, okay, means high population, and that the fact that many people make it their home, and it is the second largest township, means that it is actually a popular location for living. Generally, there will be demand in the area. But besides the demand also, Tampines North itself, okay, has a lot of BTOs.
Yes.
Okay? Would you like to elaborate on that?
I think there's about how many BTOs there? They are home to about 14,000, more than that. 14,000. Yes, residences. Who are your potential buyers? Should you plan to just hold and subsale it out? So let's see. Over here, there are a total of 14,700 HDB upgraders, which is 14 times of Parktown size.
Wow.
And not forgetting Oral or Tenant EC. You might think why people stay in a condo, they want to upgrade to Parktown, right? Maybe it's because of the added convenience. Imagine every single day, you wake up and then you walk to Parktown, you walk to the shopping mall. So once your ECMOP, maybe you want a change of lifestyle or you want a bigger space, you will definitely look at Parktown first because of the sentimental value that you have towards it.
And actually, just to add on to this, is that these HDB upgraders we're not talking about a normal HDB pricing of 600, 700,000 5-bedroom. If you look at what's transacted already in this place, your Tampines North, your 600 plus block numbers, someone has already done 950,000. Of course, that is the higher floor. But even if you take a look at Property Guru right now, you see that people are asking at the 900 plus K range. And just to put into perspective, these are people who are buying at 375K at BTO prices.
Actually, when we help our clients refinance, a 4-room flat that is on a very level 4 lah. Like the valuation we got was already 810,000, and imagine that's a low floor for a 4-room flat. So they actually bought it at, when I asked my owner side, he told me he bought it at about 350,000. So imagine the paper profits that he's sitting on. So you just do the math. If they were to sell after the 5 years, I think they will cash up a very comfortable maybe 600 to 700,000
$500,000 plus, yeah.
Yeah, I mean after the paying down some loan also, and I don't even include their savings or CPF.
Yeah. But for a more personal calculation, please do look out for us, contact us and let us know how we can help you on your personal planning of upgrading.
So for the, exit strategy for Parktown also seems good. We've talked about second largest township, BTO clusters and all that. But one thing we are forgetting is the development itself, right? The property near integrated transport hubs, right, tend to enjoy stronger demand and higher resale value, okay, due to the convenience factor in the resale market in the future. Better rental also, because generally it's very easy to rent out the property
Correct.
that is actually integrated with MRT shopping
tenants,
malls.
the first thing they look at is convenience.
Convenience, correct. And
yeah.
MRT. The moment you have MRT, your rental is more or
It's
less
secure already,
guaranteed.
is there already.
It's more or less,
your demand is
so-
there, correct.
And being at the Cross Island Line, the Cross Island Line will eventually connect to so many different lines.
It's called Cross Island for a reason.
Yeah.
lah.
yeah. So it's actually the connectivity is very good and time saving lah, in a sense, because of the connectivity. You don't have to even bring an umbrella everywhere when you.
I think
when you
people
travel.
really underestimate the time saving
Yeah,
of
correct.
an integrated, because like if you just take one bus or let's say you take a walk, that will add 5 to 15 or even 20 minutes to your journey time.
Correct.
So a 30 minutes journey to your office versus a 1 hour journey to office, right?
Yeah.
It's a huge thing, because waking up 30 minutes early when you are very tired in the morning, right? Wow, sibei jialat one eh.
Yeah, and then imagine, right, you still have to, if you come home or you never eat breakfast, you can go down and buy before going office instead of like having to walk to like hawker center or like some food places near your office. You can just go down, buy, and then when you come home also.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not forgetting that how much time we already spent doing so many other things, and the more time you can save. For example, if you can save 30 minutes in a sense every day on transportation, okay, in 2 days you save 1 hour. 4 days you save 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, Singapore is a very fast-paced society. So every single time that we have is very precious. That's why people are willing to pay just a little bit more for the added convenience.
Correct.
Yeah. Lastly, another thing I want to touch on is also about future-proofing and sustainability. So interestingly, right, integrated transport hubs are actually a big deal, mainly because Singapore's urban planning prioritizes integrated transport hubs, because Singapore wants to promote public transport usage and
More
this actually
eco-friendly lah.
Yes, correct, eco-friendly. So this aligns with sustainability goals that Singapore wants to achieve. And being near integrated transport hub, technically, in a sense, you think about it, ensures that the property actually remains relevant and desirable as Singapore continues its development.
I think that's quite interesting, because like when you talk about urban planning, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times Singapore look at transport nodes as the radii to building a township.
Yes.
We look at from the middle, the MRT station to a shopping mall, and then you build the towns from there. I mean, every single township in Singapore is the same. Your Yishun, your Punggol, Sengkang, they are all centered around the same style of planning.
Yeah.
So we see every single town, the ITH, integrated transport hub, like Punggol, Woodlands, Bukit Panjang, Pasir Ris, Yishun, they all are quite, the value holds there, and they profit quite a bit for buyers of these properties lah.
So that wraps up the exit strategy for Parktown residences. So Nat, do we have a scorecard for Parktown residences?
Yes, we do. Actually, if you have worked with us before as one of our clients, you understand this is something we do for every single project that we have done with you. If you see here right now, we do not have the entry price. So we have highlighted it here because the entry price will only come in after the balloting phase. And number two, the layout comparison is because we have not covered the layout at all, and that will be in our second video.
Watch out for our next video, in which we will deep dive more into the schematics of the site plan and more about Parktown residences itself, okay, in terms of the layout, what's good, what's bad, what should you avoid also.
Yeah, which tech to go for, West Sun, all these things.
Yeah. We are rather opinionated when it comes to floor plans. So stay tuned, guys.
Yep. See you guys next time. Please like, subscribe, and follow us on our channel below. See ya.
See ya. Hey everyone, before we proceed, if you find this video helpful, don't forget to...
Okay.
Yes, everything is good except the layout is a question mark.
Okay. Yep.
And then,
maybe the AM.
so all in all, that wraps up the exit in a sense strategy for Parktown Residences. Okay, so Nat, do we have a scorecard for this?
Yes, actually,
It's okay, they're not looking at me. The camera not at me also. What?
Yeah.